here with Diego in Bali, and today we're going to talk about, what would you like to talk about today, Diego? There's just so many interesting things he has to share. It's a real treat for me to get to listen to these conversations, and even EO and everybody else who comes over to visit. And so I keep saying, I want to record this, I want to record that, and yeah, this is our attempt at doing such.
We want to talk about the relationship.
Yeah.
Because also according to the recent post on Facebook, in your page, in my page, what I saw was kind of a lot of misunderstanding, perceptively, intellectually, about the topic of relationships. Not just what is supposed to be the main aspect of relationship, meaning between a man and a woman.
Well, when you were bringing this up, it was so fascinating. You were talking about what society is conditioned to believe what a relationship is, as opposed to what it actually should be like, rather than how far we have disconnected and like now we think that's normal. Particularly when you were saying after 50 years we get a medal for shutting off all of our senses and being able to tolerate the person, but that's not a real relationship or how it's supposed to be. So,
to my mind, the first vision and movement of thoughts and even ideas and perception and observation that people should pay attention in at the beginning of a relationship, and not only a relationship between a man and a woman or friends or so on.
So the first thing is a relationship with yourself and with nature.
Exactly.
Knowing and see, people have this in videos all the time and in books. You must know and love yourself first before anyone can know and love you, otherwise you'll unconsciously push them away. And so it's extremely cliche. So what I want you to do is further elaborate in that way of how people, we hear it, yeah, okay, easier said than done. How exactly do you develop a relationship with yourself or with nature, for example?
So when someone starts a relationship, the first question that person should ask to himself is, am I friendly with the unfamiliar? And someone can say, what?
Yeah.
But the question is quite a relevant question, and not intellectually. I'm not saying that before starting a relationship you should do some meditation or intellectual meditation, intellectual processing, and start asking you this question, but just spontaneously. Am I familiar with the unfamiliar? Or am I in fear? Or am I afraid in some way of the unfamiliar? Because when you start a relationship, whatever kind of relationship, it could be a relationship with a woman, could be a relationship with your boyfriend, could be a relationship with a nature, could be a relationship with a new place in which you want to live for a while. The question is, am I comfortable with the unfamiliar? Because actually you are going to face something which is unfamiliar, and if you don't do that, you are dealing in a new relationship with the known, meaning what you already know, which is the past, and which is the time, and which is also the fear.
Do you think that because people start a relationship with the known and with their past all the time, they feel so safe with that, but at the same time, that also turns out to be like the nightmare of the loop cycle of the same thing happening over and over? Yes. Even though you're with a different partner, it's the same kind of problem as before. So
yeah, it's the repetition, maybe in a different way, maybe increased or maybe less, but it's a repetition of the known.
Okay.
Every kind of relationship, not just among men.
So are you saying people should be more enticed by the idea to embrace the unknown in a relationship, something that they're not familiar with or something that makes them a bit nervous? But also nervousness is is intuition, maybe saying, something's not right, I don't get a good vibe from this person, they could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Can you distinguish between the two so people...
Yeah, of course. Before starting a relationship or at the beginning, per se, the very important thing is asking to ourselves what the relationship is not, what the relationship is not. So what is not a relationship? Is a relationship something connected with the past? Actually not, because we are starting a new thing, a new experience. Is the relationship connected with your personal confusions and fears? No. Is a relationship connected with the expectation you have from that relationship? No. Is the relationship something that something that creates the conflict between what is in the reality right now, the beginning of the relationship, and what I would like to be and to become, and the relationship to be? This is not a relationship. This is not even the beginning of the relationship. Because at the beginning of every kind of relationship, actually you are dealing with the unknown, not with the known. And if you observe from every point of view, including the intellectual one, before starting a relationship, if you observe what kind of relationship you have with the known, with what you know, you will find out that mostly the relationship that you have with the known is also the source of your confusions and your fears.
Give an example of a known relationship so people can be very aware of the pattern that they themselves might even find themselves in. I mean, this is our only reference point of relationships. This is all we've seen in real life, the real life relationships, as opposed to relationships in movies or fairy tales or how we think it's supposed to be, which was very interesting to me.
For example, sorry, suppose that I would like to get the so-called perfect relationship.
Okay.
Meaning a situation in which I have a full understanding, no confusion, no fights, of course, no fear, no doubts, no confusion, and so on. But suppose that in my past, my previous relationship has been something like always contaminated by kind of misunderstandings or conditionings or fears.
Comparing, like you were saying, always comparing.
Comparison, yeah.
Yes, there's another one, I can't remember what it is now.
Okay, well, if I'm facing since the beginning the new relationship, having the luggage of my past, which is the known, the fear, the confusions, the misunderstanding, the pressure, the suspicion is in the known, is not in the unknown. So if I start a relationship being familiar and only familiar, 100% familiar with just the known, which is my past and which is my perception of time, I create a comparison. And where there is comparison, there is judgment, there is suspicion, and there is fear, because comparison creates fear. It can be conscious or unconscious, but it doesn't matter. Sooner or later we'll become conscious.
It's true. I mean, I'm monitoring my thoughts and my emotions while I'm here with you, and just all the different things that come up, and it almost feels like it's a full-time job. The birds agree. Oh my gosh. The cicadas. Oh, yeah. But it feels like it's a full-time job, and in that I have to constantly monitor my thoughts and almost stalk them, and to question what is beyond these. Why are they here? What are they trying to tell me? You know, so that it doesn't continue to rob my present moment, so that I can't enjoy my time here in this beautiful country, Bali, Indonesia, my new home, or my time with Diego and the experiences we have, or friends, and it's something that is really important and really serious. I mean, we talk about being in the now, but going deeper as far as understanding what's going on within ourselves, that we can't be in the now.
But but actually, also recently, so many, let's say, spiritual speakers are talking, also philosophers, are talking about the importance of the now. Meaning also that your relationship must be in the now.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is a lot of kind of speculation in the explanation, the experiencing, and the understanding of the now. Because the now beyond the now, regardless of the power of the now in a spiritual way, which is a bit an abstraction, like the power of now of Eckhart Tolle.
Right, yeah.
Fine, is a good book, but what there is beyond, actually the now that I'm living right now, in this moment, in this interview, is the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Because I never faced this moment before. Of course, it's a continuation of my previous moment, but if we see actually the moment as life it is the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and my relationship, whether a relationship with you or with the noisy
insects,
or the wind or the light or whatever else, takes place in the now meaning that it takes place in the known, in the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So if and considering the fact that fear, confusion, kind of anxieties or expectation takes place in the known and not in the unknown, if now I cultivate expectation, kind of fear, kind of anxiety, kind of panic, kind of unwillingness to face something that is not really clear, actually I'm trying to clean up or to fix my now, the unknown, the unfamiliar, with the past.
Okay.
And on that way, I'm contaminating my now, my present moment, with the conditioning coming from the past. And the result of it,
one day being a better person,
fear.
kind of a thing,
Yeah.
and then because of that, you're ruining your relationship with the moment of now.
Yeah.
Because you're too much focused on the past or even the future that hasn't yet to be set.
Yeah, if I start a relationship,
So it's a bit of a trick.
yeah, it's one of the main trick of the and one of the main factory of the sorrow of humankind. If I start a relationship, doesn't matter what kind of relationship, in every field, including I don't know, my new job or whatever. If I start a relationship and I pick up things from the past, and I compare those things with the present moment, through the comparison I create fear. So I'm actually not starting a relationship. What I'm starting is just a projection of my past, and I'm projecting my past toward the screen of my future. And on this way I create the usual conflict between what it is and what I would like to become, to be. And these two ideas destroys my possibility to deal perceptively, emotionally, and first of all freely with my present moment. And this is not a relationship, it's just an automatism coming from my past. And that's why sooner or later I will recreate the same mistakes, the same fear, the same uncomfortable feelings, and over and over and over, just perhaps in a different way.
So what can people do about it?
So
embrace the unknown. What does that look like? How do you embrace the unknown? You go after things that make you uncomfortable to figure out what it actually is, and so if you can no longer be held prisoner by it.
But okay, when you start every kind of relationship, you should start the relationship in freedom. Freedom means not the freedom doing what you want,
that's romantic.
but what you feel to do. And what does it mean, be free to do what you feel to do? Means if you start a relationship, even a relationship with I don't know, my cigarette, just to say.
How about you start a relationship with your coffee?
Or my coffee, or my walking, or my whatever, or my meditation, if you like, or my yoga, if you like, or the way how I think in the present moment. If I start it without freedom, meaning without peace, not peace like this, or standing like this, or practicing peace, not through practicing peace, but in peace, meaning without conditionings and without comparison, then I can build up something which is made up on a solid and free platform. if I start a relationship having conditionings and expectations, I will create a building on the sand. And the sand is my past. Because actually my past takes place just within my mind. And the energy of fear, when I think, when I perceive about fear, is stronger than the energy of hope, for example. I hope that this relationship will be exactly I would like this relationship to become.
And when we're referring to freedom in a relationship, we're not referring to like letting the kind of free that you think like free love per se. We're talking about allowing the person to...
It's quite important. A free relationship doesn't mean free love, that so I'm in relationship with you, I can have other girls. It's not about this new age concept, it's not really about that, because actually beyond and behind in the intellectual aspect of free love, there is just an excuse to avoid the dealing with the inner fears. Freedom is not a condition outside. It's not at all a condition that you can build up outside of yourself in actions and stuff like that. Freedom is first of all a perception and a status that you can cultivate inside. And actually freedom, meaning peace, if we think about what is the most practical thing, what is the most practical thing? Is the most practical thing a new business, a big business, or is the most practical thing trying to figure out the way to practice something in order to create a better life? Or is the most practical thing the aim to become and the belief to become a better person tomorrow, meaning that today I'm worse than tomorrow, so I become the enemy of myself every single day because tomorrow I'm supposed to be better? Or is the most practical thing peace? Is not peace the most practical thing? Most practical thing means from every point of view and layers and platforms.
Respecting each other's peace as well too.
If I'm not in peace, intellectually, psychologically, perceptively, energetically, emotionally, having no confusions, no suspicions, no fear, no control, of course, no expectation, no comparison. If I'm not in peace, how can I face a relationship peacefully and in freedom? How can I contribute to the growth of a new relationship if I have no peace from every point of view? Of course, if I don't pay attention to my inner peace, first of all, I will create something which is just the copy of something coming from the past. And what is actually more powerful in my past, unfortunately, to the human psychological technology, is not the moment of happiness. It's not when we were living, experiencing kind of freedom, but it's fear. And someone can say, no, but in my personal experience it's not really like that. Well, fine, probably yes, but if we look without conditionings, without, no, but this is my idea, stuff like that, if we look at the conditioning of the situation of humankind worldwide, it's not something about sorrow. If we watch with a true observation, not an observation contaminated by our beliefs or our religiosity or our hopes, if we watch the situation of people, psychological situation and social situation of people in India, in the Americas, in Europe, especially right now, in Africa, including here in Bali, can we see that the main things is sorrow and struggling and suffering and trying to find out ways to clean up and to fix this sorrow? Yes. And so when and where this suffering starts, if not in the moment in which you create a relationship, and first of all with yourself. Because if you are not in a peaceful relationship with yourself, how can you start a relationship with another person, another situation, another kind of life, and even with another belief? Will be just, in a different way perhaps, but will be just a recreation of the same sorrow. Because if we're considering hope, the sentiment of hope, the willingness of hope and fear, I'm sorry, it's not my idea, but fear is more powerful than hope, because in order to follow hope I have to translate, to create something intellectually, perceptively, and I have to be in peace. But in order to feel fear, it happens like that. So actually, my psychological life is closer with fear rather than hope. So what about don't think for a while about hope and think about fear without the ideas that created that fear. And that's a good way to start the relationship, because on that way you realize what is yours in the now and what is not yours coming from the past.
But easier said than done again. But easier said than done again. It takes a bit of practice. It takes practice. For me, it takes practice. And if it's done right, it can help heal you of any past heartbreaks and things like that.
It depends, because for example, if I'm coming from a sad relationship, so it's quite fresh, and I'm starting a new relationship, which is the unfamiliar. Actually, if I observe the situation in the now, not the situation in the past, but the situation in the now, what is familiar to me, truly, honestly, is sorrow. No?
Yeah.
Because I'm still suffering because of my previous relationship. So what is familiar to me is sorrow. But actually I'm facing the unfamiliar. Sorrow means fear. So if I'm willing to face the unfamiliar in the now, contaminating the unfamiliar, or by comparing the unfamiliar with the familiar one, which is sorrow, actually I'm not dealing with the unfamiliar. I'm not dealing with the now, but I'm dealing just with a stream, illusory stream that comes from my past, which is sorrow, creating what? Comparison, fear, meaning fear, even competition, because I want to be, I'm competing with my past, because I wanted this, something better, if compared with my past. But why should I care to create something better, instead than just experiencing the moment in itself? If you compare, you are not living a relationship, because you are living a competition, and competition is an indication of fear, the contrary of, the opposite of peace, is a kind of noise, always here, and then it becomes a reproduction of your past. No?
Yeah.
And the tragic situation is when people, for example, there are people that, for example, in a relationship between man and woman, some people say there should be some kind of conflict sometime within a relationship between wife and husband and so on.
There should be, really?
Some people say it,
Really?
used to say that,
Perhaps
but
in Italy.
perhaps everywhere.
Why?
Because those people think that through a conflict, the conflict enforces the relationship itself. Actually, it's exactly the opposite. Because a conflict in a relationship is an indication that there is a hole, meaning a fear, coming from the comparison of the past, that the two people are not willing to face. So through a conflict is a sharing of fear that seems to be a communication.
Okay.
And then people after, perhaps after the conflict, they do some sex, and this is the way
Make up sex.
to fix the conversation in a good way, and over and over and over. And this is actually a fragmentation of a relationship. And there can be some peace, some consciousness when a relationship is fragmented. It's just a fragmentation. I don't think so, because there is not, it's just spinning in circle, and it's the continuation of the same game. And actually this is not a relationship, it's just an inner and psychological attempt to cover up the personal loneliness, the personal confusions, the personal fear. Actually, I do think that most of the people are willing to stay, to build up a relationship, just because this is a way to cover up their confusions. Because in two,
Or just because they're lonely and they just want to settle.
maybe
Just
because
want to
they are
have some
bored.
company, bored. That's not the right reason to get involved.
Then another thing, if you start a relationship, and then after a while or immediately you want to give a sense, a name, or even an ambition to that relationship, in this exact moment you are losing the relationship itself, because you are losing the experiencing of the relationship that takes place in the present moment and not in the future. For example, should we think about the marriage? Why? Why you think something about that?
I mean, should people think about getting married if they're dating?
Something like that. I'm not saying that.
Well, haven't we discussed clarify and stuff like that? I just want to clarify your English for people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Should we think about the marriage?
That the marriage, there is nothing wrong in itself in the conceptualization of marriage in itself, which is just an abstraction, then a conclamation of something. But something truly wrong is in the way how people abuse of this abstraction, and the way how they react to the need of a conclamation. Because if you are in a relationship, why do you need a conclamation or a constant conclamation?
Confirmation.
And confirmation and expectation. For example, through the sexual needs, or for example through
saying I love you, having to say I love you all the time, or having to do romantic gestures all the time, just for confirmation that, oh, he feels this way about me, or she feels this way about me. Yeah, you should be able to feel it, and just know.
I'm not saying that we have to experience a relationship like two monks or like two wise people. Not really. In a relationship, it's quite important also the sharing of stupidity sometimes. It must not be something serious and deep and not necessarily about talking all the time about these topics, not at all. But what does it mean, stupidity, for example? Stupidity means that when there is a conscious an intelligent stupidity, stupidity becomes a part of the wisdom that is supposed to take place in a relationship. It's not separate. It's not, oh, okay, now we have a moment of stupidity because we wanted to program, to plan this moment. No.
That's the other thing, scheduling and planning
and
moments for the relationship, rather than letting it be creative, spontaneous.
Yes.
And the love coming out in just every gesture you do, rather than having to say and expect certain things in a certain way and so forth.
One of the most beautiful things in a relationship is the spontaneity to jump within 1 hour, let's say, from very stupid stuff consciously, of course, and very deep and wise stuff, but mixed together like one, like a team of emotions and intellectual investigations, like one team, a perceptive team, a psychological team, an emotional team, and this is, and without expectations, without
that was
suspicion.
a really interesting one to learn. The being in a relationship without expectations. Just think about that one for a minute, with all the different things that you do, and how things are supposed to be, and how you're kind of setting yourself up for sorrow because of the ideas of how exactly it's supposed to happen, and if it doesn't happen that way, what does that mean, and so forth, and you know how I'm pretty sure the girls will really understand. I think guys as well. I think we all do it, but it's something that a trap, a subtle trap that we don't always pay attention to, that we just assume is normal and natural and should be.
Mm-hmm. So this. Okay.
Do you want to?
The last thing
else you need to say that's really important?
What is important, just to clarify, because I do feel that many people, when they are listening or reading something like that, they think that okay, fine. So the solution is the way is that we should all become maybe a bit more kind of philosopher, or paying more attention about our intellectual movements, or taking things seriously. Actually, not at all. A relationship is not something serious. This could be another big source of misunderstanding. But the most serious thing that you can do is stop taking things seriously, because how can you experience some peace and some freedom if you take freedom seriously? If you take freedom seriously and peace seriously, and a relationship in peace seriously, it means that you are creating fears, confusions, and investigation, very dense investigation, comparison. To create some seriousness, you have to compare. And through comparison, you create fear, because it's the fear to lose the moment that you are experiencing. And on that way, you lose the peace. And without peace, you cannot face any kind of relationship, especially the relationship within nature, and first of all, the relationship within yourself. By yourself, through yourself, within yourself. So, to start a relationship means be familiar with the unfamiliar, and not forgetting the past, but get rid of the conditionings. And on that way, you can start a relationship without fear and in peace. Doesn't matter the future of that relationship or what kind of relationship is. Okay?
Well said, yes. One of the things that is really interesting about Diego is it's not just talk. So many people we come across just seem to talk the good talk, but I mean, to be able to walk it, to meet somebody who really knows what they're talking about because they embody that piece, and you witness it firsthand, is something else, because we're very astute to pick up some hypocrites and things like that. So this is one of the reasons I find that sharing the videos with Diego are really important at this time, and the things that I've learned as well are just knowing the importance of unlearning too, I guess. So
learn the unlearning.
How do you say it usually? Can you learn without
understand without learning?
Understand without learning.
But this is another big topic.
Yes, but
understand without learning, sorry, means understand without conditionings, but through our perception.
Yes.
Not according with my past, this is supposed to be like that.
Yes.
No, learning, understanding without learning, because when you learn, you pick up stuff from your past,
yes,
and you compare, and so you learn through fear, not through peace.
Well said. Thank you, Diego. Very good.
De nada.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Take care.